Good morning and welcome to Y Update. I'm your host, Emily Morris. First up, we have the scoop on the leadership banquet last night. We have Tori and Lindsay with the story.
I personally gain knowledge and satisfaction that there are so many young new leaders coming up through the ranks. I'm really thrilled to see that you young leaders are getting knowledge of how government works, of the three branches and what it takes, because once you understand the nuts and bolts, I know that you have the energy to come in and make great things happen. And it requires knowledge, and here it is, you're getting it in high school, and I will contribute to that in any possible way.
The people you meet here are people that you will read about, be friends with for the rest of your life. These are people who are leaders just like you.
I consider sort of your life and my life, as our own homes. And the home starts with building a foundation. And you need the strongest foundation possible. So you have to take your cultural strengths, whatever they might be from your family and from your ancestors, and then you take your education and you get as much of it as you can. And you take that and you take your experiences, which include things like mock trial and this YMCA youth government program. It includes those lousy jobs. It includes working with the public. You take all of those experiences and you mix it into this foundation of who you are. And then you go out to the world and you have these leadership abilities, but you're rock solid because you have your culture, you have your education, and you have your experience. And from there, you can build the highest building on earth because you have the stuff to make it withstand time.
And the 61st Youth Governor, the Honorable A.J. Blumenfeld. Thank you, officers. Thank you, Justice.
My hope is that people will start to realize, it might take about halfway through, but people will start to realize that as much as we like to come here to do everything that we've trained to do at Bob 1 and Bob 2, that this is still just part of the training, that Sacramento is just one grand training for our lives, and that we can take what we get here and we can apply them to our local communities, whether that's our families or our schools or our cities, and then hopefully, for the best of the best, our states and our country. That's my hope.
In legislature news, the state legislature plans to vote tomorrow on a deal that would close California's projected $40 billion budget gap. The plan increases taxes but places a state spending limit that would need voter approval. Negotiators in the legislature say they are not sure they will be able to get the votes needed for the bill to pass. And now we have an exclusive interview with Assemblyman Portantino of the 44th District. We have Quinn O'Dowd with the scoop.
Hi, I'm Quinn O'Dowd outside of the office of Assemblyman Portantino. Let's hear what he has to say about the state of California. Assemblyman Portantino, what does your job entail?
I represent the 44th Assembly District, which encompasses the communities of Northeast Los Angeles, Pasadena, and a large chunk of the San Gabriel Valley.
Are you currently sponsoring any legislation?
We have introduced, I think, 13 bills so far, many dealing with higher education. I'm the chair of the Assembly's Higher Education Committee, so we're trying to break down the barriers between high school and community college and offer more academic partnerships with high schools and community college, which is called concurrent enrollment. We're also doing a bill on bringing broader breast cancer coverage to women across California.
And what are your biggest worries about California today?
Well, my biggest worry is that we're not meeting the promise of the master plan, the landmark master plan for higher education that was written almost 50 years ago, guaranteed every high school student the opportunity to go to college in the state of California. And that's why we were so prosperous in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, is because we had this world-class system of higher education that made it affordable and accessible for every student. We still have the great institutions, but the cost of going to college, the accessibility of going to college, we have tremendous demands on the system, and we need to meet that promise.
How would you make going to college more accessible for California's high school students?
Well, I think we have to recognize that the cost of fees are only about 5 to 10% of the actual cost of going to college, especially in community colleges. Those kids who pay those fees still have to support themselves, they still have to provide textbooks, transportation. It's very expensive to go to college in the state of California above and beyond the actual fees. So we have to do our best to keep fees low, but we also have to make sure the economy supports those kids who have an aptitude to go to school, give them the ability to do it.
And what are you most optimistic about?
Well, I'm most optimistic every year when the Youth and Government program comes to to Sacramento and I see so many bright high school students who are interested in public service, who are interested in helping give back to their state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, I learned some pretty interesting facts about California education. I'm Quinn O'Dowd reporting. Back to Emily in the studio.
Thanks, Quinn. That's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. I'm Emily Morris. Have an excellent day.